We built a workbench that folds down against the wall when not in use, but our workbench is also on wheels. Everything but the top is made out of 2x4s, so this was basically free. This is our old folding workbench. It does the job really well, but it can't travel, and we wanted to travel.
We already have Carty McCartface.
We use Carty on a lot of the heavyweight, more dangerous projects like this one, but Carty really isn't tall enough to do what we want to do for smaller projects. So we made this fold-up workbench. We've seen the big 4x8 workbenches that people have built that fold up against the wall when not in use. They're really great, but our shop here is small and we needed a smaller workbench. Plus we need our vertical space here on the walls for French cleats, because any good woodworker will tell you, French cleats are the secret to woodworking. We're cheap, so everything but the top is made out of basic 2x4s. All we did was cut them off. And we're lazy, so all of our cuts are straight cuts. No fancy woodworking, nothing like that. Just simple construction for a simple workbench. If you got a small shop, this is the sort of thing you can build too.
Okay, it's not all 2x4s. The first piece is a 24x48 sheet of plywood. After you have that, it really is all 2x4s. Take whatever 2x4s you have, scraps or new wood, and cut these lengths. There are no advanced woodworking techniques here. Everything is just a simple, straight 90-degree cut. We happen to have a miter saw to make our cuts, but if you have any other kind of saw, that's fine too. You can also use gophers or herrings, whatever works for you. The first step is to make a box on the underside of the workbench. Just screw everything together. We will be mounting our legs to this box. And speaking of legs, let's make the legs. Use these 4 pieces and glue the 7-inch pieces to the top. I know this is really hard. We could use screws for this, but we're using glue because we're going to be sanding down the thick end of these legs into a rounded shape, and screws would just get in the way.
Wood glue is great, but it takes time to dry, so I'll see you tomorrow.
A plastic cup, this one from our barbecue place we like to go to, is used to make a round template on the edge of the leg. We're going to round this leg off into a circle. To do that, I'm using the miter saw here, and later on I used my belt sander. Whatever method you use to do this is fine. You just need to end up with a rounded leg, because this structure has to pivot so that you can fold the legs up and down. The legs need bracing, so here's the bottom brace. We're using pocket screws to do this because these braces have to be flush with the legs. This will make sense in the next step, but these braces must be attached by their ends to the leg. And here you can see what I mean. The brace is attached to the bottom of the legs, that's the non-thick part of these legs we just made, end to end with the base. We're gluing and screwing it because we want it to be very solid, but there's any number of attachment techniques you can use. The point is to make the brace look like this on the bottom. If you attach the braces like this, you'll have 2 sets of legs that nest inside that box we just made. See how they fold out? We have to overlap the legs like this because this is a short workbench. It's only 4 feet wide, and the legs have to overlap in order to fit in the box.
This project is simple enough to finish in a single day, but if you like making your shop look awesome by painting things like we do, well, you're going to have to wait for the paint to dry.
With our stylish orange paint dry, it's time to attach the top to the box. This is a workbench and we consider this top sacrificial, so if we ever have to replace it, all we have to do is pull these screws off and put a new top on. Next comes the hardest thing you have to do on this project. Mark an X in the middle of the standing leg. In this case, it's between those 2 2x4s. And then mark a spot halfway up the side of the box, which in this case is 1.75 inches. That's where we're going to drill our hole to put our bolt. I'm using a clamp to hold the leg in place because I'm drilling all the way through the box and the leg. The bolt's going to go through both. Once the holes are drilled and the sawdust is brushed away, a 6-inch 3/8 inch bolt is driven through the box into the leg. Washers, of course, are added on both ends of the bolt as well as the space between the leg and the box. That allows the wood to move without grinding against the side of the box. because we don't want any trouble when we open the legs. We just want to stand up the workbench.
Now we're going to add the upper leg braces. The upper leg braces keep the legs from spreading wider than 90 degrees. This center bar keeps them from collapsing. This keeps them from spreading too far. They work together to give you 90-degree legs.
Compared to what we just did with the bolts, this part is super easy. Stand up the legs, use a square to make sure they're 90 degrees, clamp them down, and drop some screws in to hold the brace in place. Your legs are now fully braced. Now it's all together, and you can see here how the legs nest inside the box to fully retract. The end braces keep the legs from spreading too far. Now we need a brace in the center to keep them from collapsing inward. So the last wooden piece on the workbench is a spreader that goes between the two legs to keep them spread apart when it's open. Notches are cut in each end of the spreader that will match corresponding notches in the base of the legs. This will make sense in a minute, but basically you're going to cut a chunk out of the thing. And it fits into chunks that you cut out of the legs, as you see here. The point is to make the spreader long enough to keep some tension on the legs, so the length of your spreader may vary. We're using these rubber stem casters for our wheels. Stem casters fit into tighter spaces, which our 2x4s are, so drill a 3/8 inch hole, put the stem in, and you're good to go. Now, let's see what this wheeled workbench can do.
Alright, now we got a workbench on wheels that we can push around and collapse the legs to. It's great. And now we're going to build a dock that attaches it to the wall and allows it to fold down.
The dock makes the whole folding workbench thing work. It allows it to fold down, and it's the easiest thing we have to build. It's two 44-inch 2x4s with a piano hinge between them. We're alternating 1-inch screws with the stock screws to give it more strength, but otherwise this is pretty basic. A mark is made where the workbench meets the wall so we know where to mount the dock, and then the dock is mounted to some studs at that level. The workbench will back right up to this dock, connect to it, and we'll show you how we're going to do that in a minute, and fold down. It's literally this simple. The leg bolts stick out a little bit, so I countersuck a hole here so that the workbench is more flush against the dock. Then 6-inch gate latches are added. This is what's going to hold the workbench to the dock. The stock screws have been replaced by 1 5/8 inch screws to give it more strength, but otherwise this is a stock installation. Those same longer screws are used on the latch receiver that's mounted to the workbench. So to dock the workbench, you push it up against the dock, close the latch, and twist the little twisty thing. That's what holds it to the wall when you swing it down into the stowed position. And finally, a small hook is added to the dock to keep it from flopping down when you pull the workbench away. Everything's built. Let's try it out for the first time ever.
Done. Our mostly 2x4 workbench and all 2x4 docking and hinging mechanism are all done and ready for action. And we are now fervently hoping that the other woodworkers will consider us cool now. Hey, let's watch this thing go. This workbench is the kind of thing that you can build cheaply to improve operations in your workshop. It's highly versatile. I can fold it down and get out of the way. I can put it up to work on it. I can detach it from the wall and wheel it even out of the shop if I gotta go paint something. It's whatever I need it to be. And that's what we do in our one-car garage workshop here. Everything's on wheels and everything's configurable. So we can set ourselves up to build a piece of furniture and then break down and rearrange the tools to build something else entirely. And if you've seen our other videos, you've seen the kind of weird stuff we build. Well, this is how we do it. We build tools like this that help us get work done. Thanks to our wonderful patrons for all your support. We love you and really do appreciate you. Patrons get extra content, so if you want to get more stuff from what we do out here, some behind the scenes things and upcoming projects and so forth, go become a patron. It's fun. We do one woodshop project per month to showcase the work stands, tool stations, and so forth that we've put together to help us build things. The other weeks of the month, we show you the weird things that we built. And if you've seen our videos, you know that our stuff is odd and interesting. This is where it happens. So if you like this or you like the other projects we've got, please like, subscribe, and if you want to see it every week when we put videos out, hit that bell so you won't miss an upload. But for now, I'm going to head on out, and this will be used tomorrow for the next project.